Oh, the new hostile flares, everyone. Are they purely gimmicks, or will their mechanics be mimicked for years to come? Are they actually viable, or will they be having us liable for the endangering of glommer for the rest of time? I don't know. But here's another valid question. The bloody heck are hostile flares? Ah yes, some folk out there might not be keeping up to date on the Wickerbottom Refresh update. That is totally not just the Wickerbottom Refresh update anymore. So allow me to introduce you to one of Don't Starve Together's newest crafts, hostile flares. Available immediately off spawn, something that they have in common with the normal flares in this game. Their purpose is multifaceted, sure, yet they are quite simple nonetheless. They can force mob spawns. Not every mob, mind, at least not as things stand now, but pirate raids, Mac Tusk hunting parties, and even the big bad Deerclops are all on the table here. As far as I'm aware, each flare has a 60% chance to summon all three of those things, actually, just as long as some other parameters are met. So if you're looking for raids out on the water, even waters on the complete opposite side of the world of the Moon Key Island, mind, be sure to launch one from a boat. And yes, multiple raid spawns are possible if these flares are spammed. But if you're yearning for some action on land, you will have to wait until winter, as we can't just force a Mac Tusk or Deerclops spawn all year round at the end of the day. Again, it appears that both of these wintry mobs have a 60% chance to be summoned, and sometimes it takes them a bit to arrive, so don't go wasting flares straight away. Give them roughly 5 to 25 seconds, and then try another. Also bear in mind, though, that the Mac Tusk you spawn technically no longer have homes, so if you have to chase them, you're gonna be chasing them forever. So be sure to catch them quick, or gain their attention somehow. As for Deerclops, however, she's just gonna do what she normally does, and stop around looking for structures to smash. And yes, it is actually entirely possible to spawn both a hunting party and Deerclops at once with just a single flare, so be aware of that. But before we question the viability of all of this, one last valid inquiry. Just how repeatable is any of this in the first place? Well, surprisingly, very repeatable. At least for 2 out of the 3 mobs that we can spawn here today, that is. Mac Tusks are limited by just how many Mac Tusk camps exist in the world, as we're not actually making new ones, we're simply teleporting the ones already in play. But as for Deerclops in the pirate raids, the only limiting factors are flares and the mobs themselves. In short, only one Deerclops can exist at one time, so kill the one you spawn before you go spawning another. And if you want more raids, just shoot up multiple flares for the potential of multiple raids at a time, as I said before. But come on now, Beard. Is all of this really possible in normal day-to-day gameplay, or are you just hyping up something that doesn't need it right now because it's new and you want to make a video on it? Yes to all of those things. To make the new flares requires normal flares and glommer goop as we saw before. But only one of those materials is gonna be a burden, as you can see. So, there's potential here. But how do we make things less of a burden, you ask? With help, as doing things naturally just ain't gonna cut it. Doing things naturally, we will have to wait till day 11 at the earliest to retrieve glommer, only to have to wait 2 to 4 extra days in between any glommer gooping that she happens to do, which is nowhere near efficient enough to make these flares matter. And I mean, there is always a prospect of brutally murdering glommer for 2 pieces of the pink poop each time, but a dead glommer still means waiting out the moon cycle to have a chance at a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on. No. That won't do. But what if we didn't have to wait for another full moon at the end of the day? And thus enters one of Wickerbottom's newest novels, the Lunar Grimoire. Now, this thing is our admittedly controversial solution to the problem, and better yet, we're about to go on to discuss even more questionable strategies to help get the thing early to boot. But jokes aside, we are here to test how accessible things are, and the Grimoire here is the only thing giving hostile flares life, so sacrifices will be made, especially on the moon moth side of things. For you see, they are now half the equation when actually wanting to craft one of these books, so we will have to find the lunar island in order to fell some loon trees before we can even think about any of it. Or will we? For you see, with a bit of setting tweaking, we can enable hollowed nights for access to the lunar experiment that will allow for us to turn normal flowers into loon trees themselves, or basic butterflies into moon moths directly. So make notes. So with all that solved comes the hardest part of the equation, the iridescent gem. We truly only have two options here. A moonstone event resulting in the deconstruction of a mooncaller staff, or theft. Theft of an already existing iridescent gem or two of the ancient archive, that is. But whatever the case, and however it's done, the end results will speak for themselves. With the grimoire in hand, we can kill glommer every single night for theoretically endless amounts of glommer goop, and thus hostile flares are going to be ours by the dozens. But why care? Why bother even thinking about any of this nonsense? It's a great question, and it might have a surprising answer coming from me. You shouldn't care. As things stand now, the potential of endless pirate raids is arguably meaningless, as not only is the loot lackluster overall, if you're not retrieving your own stolen goods, all you've really got is the Polly Roger hat. And once you have that, there's no need for anything else. And while the idea behind crazy amounts of winter loot is actually fun to ponder, what happens once everyone already has umbrellas, or tam o' shanters, and canes? I suppose Houndius Shootiuses are a bit easier to achieve now, but you still have to reset the ruins every time you want one regardless, so the heck are all them eyes gonna be doing for us? Sitting in chests? So no, until hostile flares can spawn more mobs, I will be on record calling them gimmicks at the end of the day. But there you have it, everyone. An introduction to hostile flares within Don't Starve Together, and the basics of their potential. Now I truly do believe that they will be changing the game moving forward once Clay does decide what other things they can spawn. But for now, I definitely steer clear. They are way too much work and are essentially locked behind the Wickerbottom refresh anyways. But thanks for watching, well wishes to all, hoard your pink poop, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.